Good evening. I'll call this meeting to order. This is the regular meeting of the City Council of the City of Cottonwood, Arizona, to be held September 5th, 2017 at 6 p.m. at the Council Chambers. First item is roll call. City Clerk, please take the roll.
Councilmember Allen?
Here.
Councilmember Althouse?
Here.
Councilmember Henry?
Here.
Councilmember Norman?
Here.
Councilmember Piper?
Here.
Vice Mayor Howdy?
Here.
Mayor Alinsky?
Here, thank you. Now the next item is the Pledge of Allegiance. I just wanted to say I recognize that we have Troop 7020 here in the room with us tonight, so would one of you gentlemen care to come up and lead us in the pledge this evening? No pressure. Just pull that mic down towards you if you would, up here at the podium, and go ahead and lead us. Thank you.
I pledge allegiance to the flag of the United States of America and to the republic for which it stands, one nation, under God, indivisible, with liberty and justice for all.
Thank you. It's good to see the Scouts here. I was a Cub Scout myself. That's a little-known secret. Now it's out there. All right. Next up is brief summary of current events by Mayor, City Council, and/or City Manager. Public body does not propose, discuss, deliberate, or take legal action on any matter brought up during the summary unless the specific matter is properly noticed for legal action. Are there any council members who have anything to report?
I'll go first.
Please.
Local First had a grand opening presentation of their newest CHOP local map. I was going to bring that. I'm sorry I don't have it. At Main Stage last week, and the 29th. And Ruth Ellen Alinsky did a great job. She's just a charming gal, and she did a wonderful job. Before that, many of you will have read an article in The Independent about council members Pfeiffer, Linda Norman, myself, Deputy City Manager Rodriguez, in attendance to the League of Cities and Towns, and the mayor attended also. He actually gave a presentation on the challenges and successes in rural communities, which was really well received. Next year, we were talking, I hope all the council members can attend. There's just so much to get out of it. And I think even if you've been before and you're an old hat and you know the whole routine, you glean pearls of wisdom when you're there. There's so much networking going on. You meet with 91 other communities, council members and firefighters, and there's just so much. I think it's really important that we as a council go to that. That's all I have.
All right, please.
I attended the public forum for the Mingus Avenue reconstruction. We didn't have a whole lot of public participation, but I was there representing the city. The Civic Center tour, Councilmember Norman, Councilmember Pfeiffer, and Allen and I did the Civic Center tour. It was really, really neat to be able to go inside and see the Civic Center. And then, of course, just my normal American Legion Post 25 volunteer work.
Very good. Anybody else from council? No? City Manager have anything to share?
Just real quick, Mr. Mayor, if you were by the airport today, they have started the second phase of the airport runway or apron reconstruction. It'll be the south end of the airport that they'll be working on. And then just to follow up on Councilmember Althouse's comment about Mingus Avenue, we also have surveys online that people can fill out and give us their input related to the Mingus Avenue reconstruction. So if you go to the City of Cottonwood website, you'll find it on there. That's it.
Okay, great. Thank you. Okay, next item is call to the public. This portion of the agenda is set aside for the public to address the council regarding an item that is not listed on the agenda for discussion. However, the council cannot engage in discussion regarding any item that is not officially listed on the agenda for discussion and/or action. Is there anyone in the audience tonight who would like to address the council for an item that is not on the agenda? No? Okay, then we'll close the floor to the public and move on to item 6, approval of minutes, regular meetings of August 1 and 15, 2017.
I move to approve the minutes as submitted.
Okay, I'll second that. All in favor?
Aye.
Any opposed? Okay, the minutes are approved. And then we move on to unfinished business. We have Resolutions number 2905 and 2906, appointing members to the Airport Commission. Ms. Wilbur.
Good evening. I'm Amanda Wilbur, the HR manager. For you, in your packet, there's some background on the Airport Commission. As you know, you interviewed the Airport Commission applicants last week, or last council meeting. 5 out of the 6 were there for you. We have 2 openings. There is listed in the city code is listed on here that says that 4 of the members shall be tenants and lessees of the Cottonwood Municipal Airport or shall have a working knowledge of aviation matters, and 1 member should not be required to be a tenant or lessee of the Cottonwood Municipal Airport, nor shall they be required to have a working knowledge of airport matters. They shall, however, be required to live within the corporate limits of the city of Cottonwood. Your 2 highest scorers were Mr. Clark and Mr. Pedler. Mr. Clark has decided to make his primary residence in Tucson and will live in Cottonwood part-time. So that's why there are 3 options here for you to choose, because we don't really have a definition on what maintaining a residence within Cottonwood really entails. So I wasn't sure what you would want to do with that, since he will be living within the city of Cottonwood, but it will be part-time.
I have a question.
Please.
Do we have, so the other commissioners that are on this, the Airport Commission, do any of them live within the city of Cottonwood?
They all are either tenants or lessees, and I know at least 2 out of the 3 don't live within the city limits, but since they are tenants or lessees, they would meet the other qualification, not the 5th person who doesn't have to have a knowledge or be a tenant and live within the city of Cottonwood. So I think for that 1 spot, it would be either Mr. Clark, who will be here part-time, or Mr. Tinnen, who has received the 3rd highest score. He lives within the city limits, but doesn't necessarily have a working knowledge of the airport, although he has been on the commission for a long time.
Right. I think it's important that somebody live within the city limits. I actually think it's important for more than 1 person on the commission, but that's a discussion for a different time. And to drive from Tucson to Cottonwood, that's quite a haul. So
He has said that he's willing to do that, and I believe he plans on coming back to the area later on, but right now it'll be part-time. So I think it depends on whether you want to have someone who's a part-time resident or if you want to have someone who is a full-time resident.
I think I would share concerns too about Mr. Clark living in Tucson, even though he says he's willing to make the commitment. I know that this commission is pretty active, and they sometimes hold meetings more frequently if they're discussing issues that are more important. I just worry that he wouldn't be able to attend all the meetings.
So could we get an opinion from our council on the part-time residency? Acceptable, not?
It's acceptable if you decide it is. I think the challenge here is parsing what the council that adopted these requirements for the makeup of the commission intended. My best stab at that is you wanted expertise on matters related to airport and aviation, and then you wanted to make sure there was at least 1 resident who, the best reading of those criteria is you almost wanted that person to not have that kind of either stake or experience in aviation, because 4 of them have to, but you wanted that person to be a layperson who lived within the city limits. But that's, there's only 7 people on the council, I would be the 8th.
I would agree with you, Mayor. I do have concerns about somebody, not that he's not definitely qualified, but I'd really prefer somebody that we know can devote and is more focused with this community rather than somebody down south. Perhaps when he decides to make this a permanent residence and is up here more often, I would feel more comfortable and feel like he was actually more focused on this community. That's just my thoughts on that.
Mhm.
Doesn't the other gentleman, Mr. Hebler, live in Phoenix? Which isn't
I believe
quite
it
as
does.
bad of a commute, but those of you who just made the Tucson, almost Tucson to Cottonwood, that, you know, that's another 2 hours, so.
Right. Although he would probably fly.
Well,
In good weather.
true,
Right.
I actually didn't think of that.
But still, it's a haul. That's a big commitment to make from so far away.
Says that Mr. Pebler is not currently a resident, but he owns a home in Verde Heights
Okay.
on his application.
Mr. Tinnen has done a wonderful job on the commission in the past, and he has the aviation knowledge and expertise just being there. He's learned an awful lot and been a big help to the
He's the
commission,
right
so,
Well, he's been on ever since the inception, I
Yeah.
think.
Mhm. That's true.
and he understands the comings and goings up there.
Okay. Well, would council like to move forward then with appointing Mr. Pebler and Tinnen then? Okay.
Motion to appoint Mr. Tinnen to, it's a number of the 2905, and a motion to appoint, let's see, who's the other one?
Pepper.
Hebler, yeah, there it is, to Resolution 2906.
Second.
Okay, Vice Mayor made the motion and Councilmember Norman seconded it. All in favor?
Aye.
Any opposed? Okay. Very good. City Clerk, please read resolutions number 2905 and 2906.
Resolution number 2905, a resolution of the mayor and city council of the city of Cottonwood, Yavapai County, Arizona, appointing Billy Tinnen a member of the Cottonwood Airport Commission and establishing his term of office. Resolution number 2906, a resolution of the mayor and city council of the city of Cottonwood, Yavapai County, Arizona, appointing Timothy Peebler a member of the Cottonwood Airport Commission and establishing his term of office. Mr. Mayor.
Okay, thank you. All right, on to the consent agenda. The following items are considered to be routine and non-controversial by the council and will be approved by one motion. There will be no separate discussion of these items unless the council member or a citizen so requests, in which case the item will be removed from the consent agenda and considered in its normal sequence on the agenda. And tonight there are 9 items on the consent agenda. Number 1 is resolution number 2904, approving an intergovernmental agreement with the city of Phoenix for use of Phoenix's municipal tax dashboard's business intelligence system. Item 2 is 1-year extension to the contract with Donald Zelichowski, CPA, for transaction privilege tax auditing services. Item 3 is cost-sharing agreements with the Verde Valley Military Service Park Organization and the Old Town Association for profits from the sale of spirituous liquor during the Thunder Valley Rally event. And item 4 is consideration of a new liquor license application for Kim K. Kwiatkowski, applicant for Circle K store number 9527 to be located at 1500 East Mingus Avenue. Item 5, extension of premises liquor license permit application submitted by Lauren K. Merritt, licensee for Maverick, located at 690 West Highway 89A. Resolution number 2908, appointing Paul Julian as pro tem city magistrate. Item 7, resolution number 2907, appointing E. Lynn Reardon as an associate magistrate. Item 8, authorization for cooperative use of the City of Mesa contract number 2014085 and approval of cooperative purchase agreement with Sierra Auction Management, Inc. for auctioneer services. And item 9, a memorandum of understanding with Teston Properties LLC, GM Fratelli LLC, and Mangini House 1 LLC for the excavation and removal of fill material from a portion of the airport. Is there any member of the council that would like to have an item pooled?
Yes,
for
I'd like to
discussion?
pull number 3.
Number 3, okay. Is there any member of the public that would like to have an item pooled for discussion? Okay, then let's go ahead and pull item 3. We'll take that right now.
You want to approve the rest of the agenda first?
You want to approve would that be better, approve the consent agenda first and then pool? Okay,
It doesn't matter to me.
let's do that then. I move to approve the consent agenda with the exception of number 3.
Second.
Okay, so Mayor made the motion, Councilmember Piper seconded it. All in favor?
Aye.
Aye. Any opposed? Okay, City Clerk, please read resolution number 2904, resolution 2908, 2907.
Resolution number 2904, a resolution of the Mayor and City Council of the City of Cottonwood, Yavapai County, Arizona, approving an intergovernmental agreement with the City of Phoenix for cooperative use of the Phoenix-hosted and developed municipal tax dashboards on the Phoenix Business Intelligence System. Resolution number 2908, a resolution of the Mayor and City Council of the City of Cottonwood, Arizona, appointing Paul Daniel Julian as a pro tempore city magistrate and establishing his term of office. Resolution number 2907, a resolution of the Mayor and City Council of the City of Cottonwood, Arizona, appointing E. Lynn Reardon as an associate city magistrate and establishing her term of office. Mr. Mayor.
Okay, thank you. Okay, so item 3 from the consent agenda is cost-sharing agreements with the Verde Valley Military Service Park Organization and the Old Town Association for profits from the sale of spirituous liquor during the Thunder Valley Rally event. Mr. Allen, thanks for being here.
Mr. Mayor, Council, Hezekiah with the Parks Recreation Department. So basically, these are cost-sharing agreements with the 2 nonprofits that are participating in Thunder Valley Rally this year. As you recollect, we earlier passed the liquor licenses for these 2 agencies. They are the nonprofits, so the liquor licenses are pulled in their name. The Old Town Association represents the 2 locations in Old Town, and the Military Service Park represent the location at Riverfront Park. Basically what it does is it outlines how the money will be shared, revenue across the board. As a part of the liquor license process, 25% goes back to the charity. The rest goes to the City of Cottonwood after bar expenses are covered. So,
Is there a maximum at 25%? Was it last year, was it like $10,000, or was there a certain amount, a number amount last year?
it's really just 25% of gross.
And
So
the
there's
reason,
not a cap on what that 25% can reach. Whatever, if we do $100,000, then they get 25% of that.
okay, let me, and this is, I wish I had somebody from the Old Town Association here that could help me with this, Hezekiah, but maybe you can help me wrap my brain around it. Back in November 16th of 2016, we had that meeting at the Parks and Rec Commission, and I went through the minutes, and on page 10, paragraph 1, I'm going to quote Mike Kilpatrick on that. And if you recall, he stated, and this is paraphrased, regarding the $10,000 the OTA receives from this event, now that's talking about the liquor licenses, the liquor sales that they get, he would be happy to put $5,000 of his own money, and he is sure other businesses would also make up that $10,000 loss. The OTA can more than cover that. And I was there, many of the OTA members were nodding their heads saying, yeah, we don't need the city's money. So understand I'm focused on being fiscally desirable, because that whatever money they get would actually go to our bottom line rather than the OTA, and that's something that the public is very adamant that we continue to decrease that difference of what we spend and what comes back. So I just want to understand why we're providing the OTA $10,000 when they've made it clear that they really didn't, at that point, they didn't want it and they can get it themselves.
Okay. So, Councilwoman Allen, it sounds like it's a kind of a 2-part question. The first part is, why did the TBR committee go back with the Old Town Association? The second part is, why can't we just keep the revenues from the 25%? The answer to the second question, part of the liquor license process is that it's got to be pulled in a civic entity's or a nonprofit's name. The city attorney and risk management have always agreed that we want to keep our distance from that liquor license process. So we've always gone through a nonprofit to pull a license for any of the events we've ever done, except for wine festival type licenses. So we have to give 25%. We can't get around that.
Got it.
TBR committee deliberated many times over this topic and really felt to help build relations with the merchants in Old Town to overcome this and to get to the next level, so to speak, that it would behoove us to go with the Old Town Association again, especially for the 2 bar locations in Old Town. Now, the caveat to that is that because the main stage isn't down in Old Town anymore, it's at Riverfront Park, majority of the sales typically happen during the main concerts. So the revenues realized by the two bars are not going to be as high as they have been in the past. But it's also hopefully going to help heal some relationships.
And they understand that?
Yes.
Okay. You hope? Okay, that's explained.
It's been conveyed.
That's all I needed to know. I appreciate it. Mayor?
Thank you.
Any other discussion from council? No? Okay. Then do I hear a motion? I'll go ahead and motion to approve the proposed revenue sharing agreements between the city and the Verde Valley Military Service Park and the Old Town Association for the sale of alcoholic beverages at Thunder Valley Rally.
Second.
Okay, Mayor made the motion. Councilmember Pfeiffer seconded it. All in favor?
Aye.
Aye. Any opposed?
No.
Okay. And then we move on to new business. Item 1 is request for a pay adjustment for Dorothy Gonzalez, Court Clerk 1.
Good evening, Mayor and council members. I'm Lynn Reardon, and I am your court administrator. And you just appointed me for my third term as an associate magistrate. Can you hear me okay?
There you go.
All of you know, I'm sure from being in business, that hiring an exceptional employee is difficult to do on the surface. You get to see some paper and an application. You meet them one time. You get some vague information from previous employers and from their resume, and then you pick the best person. We chose Dorothy Gonzalez on the 1st of June. She has turned out to be an exceptional employee. She brings to our office much more than we anticipated. She's bilingual. She's very computer literate, which will be a huge advantage to our office, as we'll be going to an integration into a new software program in February. And I believe that we hired her at a much lower rate than what she is worth. I'm not asking for what I think she's worth, because that would be way more than what is reasonable. But I think that we should increase her pay to something that is more in line with what the neighboring borough courts pay at their mid to top end beginning salaries. We hired her at $15.62 an hour, and I'm asking for $17. And I need your blessing.
So one of her qualifications is that she's bilingual.
Yes, very fluent.
Do we have anyone at the court now that interprets for these Spanish speakers?
We pay an interpreter for court hearings. That's required by law. If it is not a court hearing, then no, we do not have anyone that can interpret for them, except Dorothy.
So are the interpreters required to be certified in some way?
Yes, they have to be certified. And we usually get them through the registry or through the Yavapai County Superior Court. I believe their minimum rate is $50 an hour, and I believe we pay them a minimum hour, 2 hours or 4 hours.
So is this young lady, Dorothy Gonzalez, is she going to be certified? Or?
She has indicated that she's starting that process at some point. She is not certified at this time. She cannot do court hearings.
But she can interpret at the front desk?
Always, and on the phone.
Okay, very good, thank you.
You're welcome.
I have a follow-up question.
Please.
I guess to be devil's advocate, when she was hired, she was bilingual.
Yes,
Okay, so, and she was hired at the $15.62 an hour.
that's correct.
I mean, to me, when you accept a position, from what I read in the packet, the city manager had an opportunity to go higher if he chose to, or if he would ask for more at that time. You know, being fiscally responsible, I guess that's the key word tonight. You know, she was hired at a rate, and we're 4 months in, and, you know, to be asking for a raise and to be using bilingual as the reason, she was bilingual when she was hired, and you knew she was bilingual.
That is correct, and she did not ask for a raise. I'm asking for
Right.
an increase for her. Her
And her opportunity to receive a pay increase will be based on her evaluation, is that correct?
for it to be now, but I would most certainly be pleased if you would approve it at her 6-month employee evaluation time.
Do we usually approve raises at 6 months? I thought it was a year.
Well, normally, council doesn't have anything to do with employees of the city. We only have to do with the contract employees, so I'm at a loss really as to why this would
Mr. Mayor and
fall
Council,
under our
during the
purview.
budget process, you adopt or not adopt a merit program, and then the merit program is funded, and then during employee evaluations, that's when the increases happen or don't.
I have a question.
Please.
How long would it take to be certified?
That's my question.
I don't know. It depends on the person. You go through a certification process, and then you take a test, and then you get on the registry. It could be a year, would probably be the minimum. And we now have several people on the registry, but most of them come from Prescott or Phoenix.
Thank you.
Ms. Reardon, Sedona pays $16.73 for the same position. How did you determine the $17 amount for Cottonwood?
She's an exceptional employee, and it doesn't have to be $17 an hour. I think that's a reasonable amount to pay her, taking in consideration that she took a position. We didn't really know her. You don't when you hire someone new. And she's, if I would have known at the time, I would have advocated at the time to pay her much more than we paid her. I would have asked for 18.
Excuse me. Here.
Which would have been at the very top end of our mid-range.
Okay. Councilmember Allen.
Being familiar with the hiring process and the evaluation process, most of the employees that we hire, a good majority of them, once they come on, they show great skills. They either do it or they don't. And you get employees that are in there and they just jump in with both feet, and they're excellent. They're amazing employees. However, our evaluation process is set up the way it is for a reason. We have the 6 months, and then we have either 6 months is their probationary period, and I've never heard of somebody getting a raise before they completed probation. So I just want to put that out there. Typically, you get probation finished. You might get a partial raise at probation, and then at your year.
Well, and that makes the most sense to me, too, is that we continue to follow the process that's been established. And I completely understand when you have a good employee that you don't want to lose that employee. And I hope that there are 1,000 other ways that we can make her work environment pleasant enough to where she'd stick around for the 6 months so we can do an evaluation and then go ahead and move forward with merit increase. But I think it's a process that's been established for a reason. And I'd be fearful of making any changes to that on our level, because then we'd be sort of opening up the floodgates.
So at the end of 6 months, Ms. Gonzalez is able to get a raise. Is that what I'm hearing here?
No.
At 6 months, no?
After the evaluation.
After the evaluation, okay, excuse me. After the evaluation, good evaluation, she's eligible to get a raise. And that raise could be anywhere.
2.5%.
How much?
2.5%.
2.5%. Okay.
That's my understanding of the new evaluation process.
We would ask Ms. Wilbur to clarify.
I can clarify it
Or
for the council. And yeah, a new employee, they're evaluated at their 6-month period. If their performance is satisfactory, they get half of what their annual would be. And so the most, as Lynn is indicating, would be 2.5%, because our highest evaluation rating is a 5, which would be an annual 5%. So they'd get 2.5 at 6 months, and then another 2.5 at the annual, provided their performance is maintained at that level throughout the year.
Okay. How would you like to move forward on this then, council?
I think we need to follow our process.
Okay.
I don't think a motion is necessary if we have decided not to do that, so.
Okay, no action necessary. Appreciate you coming in to make the request.
Thank you.
Thank you very much. If you wonder why the council is waving,
We have
One little
we're not waving at Uncle Lenny across the street. We're getting attacked by a fly up here. That's why. So. Okay, next up is item 2 under new business, granting the city manager authority to restore 2 of the 4 police officer positions that were cut due to city budget restraints. Chief
Mr.
Gazelle.
Mayor, council members, just to kind of set the outline for this is, as you'll recall, during the budget process, we asked for the council's approval to proceed with hiring at least 1 police officer position if we could find qualified candidates. And fortunately, it seems like we're doing fairly well in identifying not only basic entry candidates, but lateral candidates as well, which is a real bonus in terms of the time it takes to get somebody trained and out on the street. And so we have some opportunities coming up. We don't want to miss them. There's never a bad time to hire a good employee. And so this is, I think, an opportunity that we'd like to present to the council tonight. And with that, Steve can give you a little more details as to why this is really important at this point.
Can I ask a quick question?
Sure.
Are you sure? Yeah. Mr. Bartosh, and I just want to clarify, because there's been some, so I'll use Trump's famous words, fake news out there about us advertising these positions. During the budget session, we talked about possibly filling 2 out of the 4 positions. And that's the reason those positions have continued to be advertised, because you obviously can't get qualified candidates if you're not advertising a position.
Well, and there, we still had open positions beyond that as well. And so we've really set up a process, I think, with both police officers and dispatchers, where we're advertising continually, so that we always have that pool of applications that we can go to.
Thank you. I just wanted that clarified.
Okay. Chief Gazelle.
Good evening, Mayor and Council. I don't know if there's anything to add. The city manager did an eloquent job of explaining our dilemma here. And I can touch on your question as well and elaborate a little further. I'll just cover my notes here and recover some of the ground the city manager, now the fly's on me. Recover some of the points that the city manager made, which are all certainly accurate. As a reminder, the police department has cut 4 positions over the last 3 years, I believe. I've been here almost 2. The 2 that we gave up this fiscal year, as the city manager mentioned, there was authority built in there for the city manager to hire 1 if we were to find a qualified candidate. So, to reiterate some of the recruitment challenges, both past and present, we anticipate that we will continue to have recruitment challenges, not so much so that the job isn't as attractive as it once was, which I believe that is the case after some of the national dialogue besmirching the reputation of the American police officer, but I'll stay off my soapbox today. But beyond that, we are competing with other agencies, particularly large Valley, Phoenix suburban agencies. The Phoenix PD alone is their goal is to hire 1,300 officers in 18 months. Certainly the larger agencies offer higher salary packages, more opportunities, and that's certainly going to attract certainly the lion's share of applicants. Our objective working in a rural county is to connect with individuals that, and generally we do a very good job at it, is connecting with individuals that want the work-life balance and they want to work for an agency with a solid reputation and one where they can fulfill their career objectives, which we all believe that we can do that here in Cottonwood. So as your police chief, and I've neglected to introduce myself, I'm Steve Gazelle, I'm the police chief in Cottonwood. It is always my goal and our agency's goal to attract, hire, and retain the highest quality applicant we can find. and that I can't underscore how important that is, being that you have essentially autonomous decision makers roaming throughout the city, essentially suspending people's constitutional rights. So every hiring decision we make is very, very critical. One bad hire, obviously, can have catastrophic consequences in many different levels, which I think are pretty much self-evident. So since the budget process, we have been working in tandem with our HR department, very successfully, might add, in kind of changing a lot of the dynamics in our recruitment processes. The city manager mentioned one of which is a continual recruitment, which is always out there, and we've also taken measures of splitting our recruitment, looking for what we call entry-level officers. These are people that have never been police officers before, as well as what we call lateral officers, which are officers with experience from another agency. Our city's history, it's been very, very challenging or very difficult to find lateral applicants that that are desirable to us, as they are certainly out there. But as of late, we've been successful in both arenas, both with INSER or lateral applicants. We have two right now. One is a 20-year veteran, a lieutenant in another agency in the Valley, who wants to come up here and connect with the community. He's got family up here, and these are exactly the type of applicants that we strike quickly. That's the other aspect, is we've adopted a quasi-business model as much as you can get in government, where we do not hesitate. We scan, our objective is to scan applicants as they come in on a weekly basis, bi-weekly at max, and we hand sort them, and when we see applicants that we see might be a good addition to our city and our community, we move very quickly. And we have an expedited hiring process, and in fact, one of the applicants that we're considering right now is currently a probation officer in the county, and was a police officer for a handful of years on the East Coast, and was in, as these applicants tend to do, is they apply at different agencies, and he had an application with at least one other Valley agency who shall remain nameless. But we move quickly, and that applicant has a conditional offer from us today. So to elaborate a little bit more on your question, Councilmember House, is even if we did not have one open position in this environment, is absolutely critical, considering our deployment number, particularly in our patrol division, that we've got to close that delta, and the time it takes to hire someone and get them solo on the street is a year, right? So we've already gone down in our complement of authorized positions to the point that makes it a little bit more hypercritical that we maintain that balance, and to do that, it requires some fluidity or some flexibility where we're always recruiting. Doesn't mean we have a position for somebody, but it certainly means that we can establish an eligibility list. We also have, in addition to the number of positions that we have given up, there's always instances where we have officers that are injured, many times injured on duty. We have that case right now. And a lot of these situations result in officers that are not able to field their positions, just not safe. Then we have officers that are sick, vacation, and in training. And we cannot simply just close shop and not field our patrol division. I don't think the community would appreciate that, and we would never let it happen. So the way that that's generally done is when you have those vacancies in our patrol roster, it's forced overtime many times. That has a burnout equation to it, where you start burning our employees out, and then those employees either start performing poorly and or start looking for other opportunities with other cities. So these are the things that we try to avoid, and to do that, we've got to stay ahead of the curve. So the fake news is proven fake once again, but that is not the case here. We're simply trying to leverage our position to stay ahead of that curve, not run short, and not hire bottom shelf police officer candidates, which, like I said before, or maybe I didn't, I'll carry a vacancy before the city does that, every time. So having said that, I think the city manager summed the rest up. I think our recruitment processes and our ability to recruit quality candidates has been pleasantly a surprise lately. And because of the quality of the applicants that we currently have, we are asking council for council support to grant the city manager one more position in addition to the one that you gave him this fiscal year to hire one. The funding source is listed on there. In talking to, in consultation with the city manager and the deputy city manager, and Ms. Lennon is here to answer any financial questions that I can't answer. I'm told that we have the money here, and what's not listed on there as well is we also are currently carrying 5 vacant dispatcher positions, which I would assume we would realize some type of salary savings from that as well. So that being said, we're asking for council support to hire 2 or restore 2 of the positions that were police officer positions that were given up for fiscal reasons. I'll answer any questions you have.
Any questions from council on this?
Can I make one clarification?
Sure.
Just for the record, the fake news I was referring to, I wasn't referring to the 2 news organizations in the room. Just so they are aware that I was not referring to them.
Fake social media news?
Thank you. Yes.
Social media, yes.
Yes. I realized we had reporters here, and I don't want them waiting for me when I go outside.
All right. Well, obviously, public safety is paramount. My only concern is just that we're on the very front side of our budget this year, so I'm concerned what kind of implications this might have down the road as we try to balance things out. I know it's been a really tight budget, but this is one area where we simply can't cut.
Thank you.
Make a motion?
Sure.
I move to authorize the city manager to restore 2 police officer positions.
Second.
Third.
Okay, we had a motion from Councilmember Allen, second by, was it Norman? Councilmember
Yes.
Norman, all in favor?
Aye.
Aye. Any opposed? Okay, motion's approved. Thank you. Next up is proposed waiver of construction, building, and fire permit fees for the Cottonwood Civic Center Improvement Project. Good evening, Mr. Scully.
Good evening, Mr. Mayor and council members. I'm Charlie Scully with the Community Development Department. We have a request to waive the fees on the Cottonwood Civic Center Improvement Project. We're getting close to getting the contract signed within this week, and expect a notice to proceed to go out to the general contractor, and maybe by the end of next week, less than 2 weeks.
Mm-hmm.
And after that, the contractor will be the one to submit the building permits. And it turns out that doing an estimate, it looks like over $8,000. And that comes out of either the grant money or the project development cost. So a waiver is not a request to take any additional budget costs. It's just how it's shuffled around. And it provides more funding to do the construction in the public building. So that's pretty much it. The options are to get some of the money from the process to shuffle it into the department budgets, or have this additional money to keep it going into the construction costs. Okay. Pretty much it.
Mayor, City Council, I'd just like to add that in my memory, I don't think staff has ever come forward and asked to waive permit fees for a city project. We have supported waiving it for the school districts and those kind of things, but we always feel that it's important for the city to face the same burden as any other contractor. And so this is a rare occasion, and just from our perspective, it's a worthwhile investment. I think we all know how tight the budget is on this particular project, and it's a project that really is so special to the city. We thought this was a reasonable project to come forward to ask the council to waive these fees.
Any discussion from council? No? All right, then, so what, the money that we will save, the over $8,000, is that, how would that be applied then toward the project? I know there were some things on the list that we couldn't get done. Will this help offset?
There's things on the list that may not make it through all the funding currently.
Mm-hmm. This wasn't budgeted for originally, though, right? The permit fees?
No, no, it was not actually in the contract
Okay.
with the bids.
Okay.
I looked that up today, and so that would be something that wasn't, came up later.
Okay.
And also, the additional funding that the city council provided kind of changed the whole estimate on what this would cost.
Mm-hmm.
So it
Okay.
comes out over, the estimate is over $8,000.
Yeah. Okay.
Permit fees.
Just so council's aware, I have been working hard connecting with APS to see if there's any funding from APS to help assist with this project. And then we discussed this too with the Historic Preservation Commission, and we've got some pretty good ideas to try to get some community fundraising going as well to try to, meet some of those shortfalls that we have with this project. So hopefully we'll be able to fund some things like the audio-visual equipment and all that.
Right.
But that's ongoing. These discussions are ongoing, so keep your fingers crossed.
That's wonderful.
Okay,
Want a
so then, did you want to make a motion?
Sure. I move to waive the construction, building, and fire permit fees for the Cottonwood Civic Center Improvement Project.
Second.
Okay, Councilmember Allhouse made the motion. Councilmember Norman seconded it. All in favor?
Aye.
Any opposed? Okay, motion's approved. Thank you. All right, next up is resolution number 2911, acceptance of a United States Department of Agricultural Rural Business Development grant in the amount of $75,000 to hire a full-time business development counselor for the Business Assistance Center.
Good evening, everyone.
Good evening.
Mayor, Council. I'm Andrea Harless with the Economic Development Department, and I am here this evening to ask you to accept a $75,000 USDA grant that was awarded to us, which will allow us to hire a full-time business counselor in the Business Assistance Center. Any questions?
Would you like to give us and the public a little bit more information about what this position will do for the city? And
Yes, well, the BAC was opened up November 10th, 2010, and since that time we have served over 800 business clients, startups, entrepreneurs that needed help starting up their business, and there is a huge demand for business counseling services, which currently we're unable to meet that demand. So we went ahead and applied for a grant that would allow us to have the funding to provide a full-time counselor in the Business Assistance Center so that we can offer the services that are necessary to these people in the community that need the support.
so you currently offer business counseling then?
Yes, business counseling services. We offer a variety of business services in the Business Assistance Center. We provide office space for rent. We have conference room space for meetings, trainings, interviewing. We have equipment for businesses that need to come in and take advantage of those resources. They're free. We have business-based workshops that we also offer that are free of charge or for a minimal fee.
Right. Mr. Horton, did you?
I just thought maybe it bared mentioning, and the council would want it of record, that this is a grant-funded position, and the way it would be recruited and hired is that it's grant-dependent, unless the council in some future time decides otherwise. And then unless the grant was renewed, and this is a non-renewable grant, but unless there was more grant funding through the same program or a different one, then the position would expire.
And Mr. Mayor, just real quick, again, this was a position that was authorized in the budget, but it was contingent upon grant funding. And just another thing that I think is really important about this is really a regional effort. And again, this is one where Cottonwood has taken the lead through the work of Andrea, gotten the grant, and our regional partners have also contributed. And I know that's in your packet, but just so the public knows as well. And there's really a strong support for this position because, as Ms. Harless indicated, we can't keep up with the demand in the region to provide this kind of counseling. Mr. Mayor.
Thank you. Councilmember Pfeiffer.
Andrea had sent a couple of people, they'd been counseled at the BAC, and I've talked to a few of them. There's at least 3 of them that I talked to that have become, their business is open, they're doing really well, the word's out, and it's all through the counseling that they got. They got the consideration from the BAC, but they also got the confidence from the BAC to go ahead and do this. So by talking with the businesses themselves, I've even used the one or two of them myself because they're really competent people and confident people. So I'm in favor of accepting the grant myself. I've seen the results of what they do over there.
Very good. Any other questions from Councilmember Allen?
I just want to piggyback on what Councilmember Piper said. And indeed, when they say they're an incubator for small businesses, they are the little chicks that start out as little tiny businesses and they kind of don't know what they're doing and they kind of get guided along, come out to be some very productive, hiring other people to work under them, exactly what we wanted the BAC for, to bring businesses in and hire people locally and give people that sense of pride in whether it's a tiny business or one that's getting bigger, like what's the veterans?
The Vetroplex.
The Vetroplex, where they have several people working for them now, and they're vets, and they've got them back to work, and so absolutely, and that position that Andrea eventually became full-time was just kind of a part-time position. I don't know how she handled it then. Anytime I come in there, there's people going in and out of that office all the time, so they need to have another person there, and she's only one gal.
Thank you.
Any other questions from council? No. I had a couple of questions. The part of this grant, one of the objectives is to provide this project performance activity report, would actually track how successful their business counseling is, which I think is great. And I'm just curious, you say you've had 800 businesses come through. Is there some way that you track that as well to find out how successful the businesses are that have come through for counseling through the current facility?
Well, I track who comes in and what the reason is for their visit to the Business Assistance Center. Sometimes it's just a new organization that needs to use the facility for space, but then a lot of it is brand new startup businesses. So I track who comes in and for what reason, and we have tracked how many businesses have actually started up, how much they've invested, how many people they've hired, and thanks to, we've worked in partnerships, so there's more than one person collecting this information. So we do have numbers. In fact, I do have some numbers from just the first 6 months of this year, if you're interested in that.
But that would be something that this grant, you'd have to do the same thing with this position, right? They would have to track their performance.
Yes, absolutely. And we've got that in place already, so we know exactly what we're going to track and what we're going to report to USDA, what the important information is that they need to receive from us. But just for the first 6 months of this year, we had 17 successful business startups, 670,000, almost 671,000 in capital investment, and as a result of that, these new businesses generated 1.6 million in sales here in the Verde Valley. There were over 40 jobs created and 13 jobs retained. So that's some of the information that we collect. We follow up with these businesses, and so it's, we need more. Sometimes these people, they're waiting close to 2 months for an appointment with someone, and that's unacceptable.
Mhm.
We're the Business Assistance Center, and we're supposed to be providing the services that these startups need, so
Right.
it'd just be nice to have someone available full-time.
Okay. And did you want to talk a little bit about the other agencies that are coming on board to help assist with this?
We have letters of intent which should have been included in your information. They were part of the grant. City of Sedona has committed to a cash match of $5,000, as well as Town of Camp Verde.
Mhm.
They've also committed to $5,000 cash match. Then we have the Cottonwood Economic Development Council, who is also committed to a $5,000 cash match if the grant was awarded.
Okay. I just see in here there's a lot of other matching funds that are required. There's a total of $144,000 that's required.
That's correct.
This-
Most of that is in kind.
In kind, okay.
Contributions, such as the space that the business counselor would be using, equipment, supplies, things
Right.
like that.
And I believe there's a need for this position. My concern really is taking on a new employee, and that if the grant, which we know it won't be approved for next year, are we going to be able to procure additional grant funds? Is this going to be another employee that we have to then take care of who has a family and all that? It starts to creep up. I just want to make sure that we're not, burdening the city more.
We are currently seeking funding and applying for funding. I have already submitted another grant for additional funding. So we're trying to stay ahead of the game, and we do intend to go back to USDA again during their next open grant period. And they like to see that we're becoming a little more self-sufficient. They would like it if next time we ask for less than what we did this time. It's our first time. So we have a list of other organizations that we intend to approach and ask for funding, and we are making it clear in the job description that this is fully contingent upon us receiving grant funding, that this will only run from October 1st through September 30th, 2018 for right now.
Right. And you maintain that this will have zero impact on the general fund.
Yeah, there is no cost to the city of Cottonwood. Everything is covered, fringe benefits, the hourly wage, everything is completely covered, no cost to the city.
Okay. All right. Thank you. Any other discussion from council? No? Okay. Do I hear a motion?
I move to approve Resolution 2911, accepting the one-time USDA Rural Development Grant in the amount of $75,000 that has been awarded to the City of Cottonwood, and authorizing the city manager to take any and all necessary actions to complete the award process and comply with the terms and conditions of the grant.
Second.
Okay, Councilmember Norman made the second, and Piper, made the motion. Piper seconded it. All in favor?
Aye.
Any opposed? Thank you very much.
Thank you so much.
City Clerk, please read resolution number 2911.
Resolution number 2911, a resolution of the Mayor and City Council of the City of Cottonwood, Arizona, accepting a United States Department of Agriculture, USDA, Rural Business Development Grant. Mr. Mayor.
Thank you.
Mr. Mayor,
Yes.
just like to extend thanks to Andrea and Casey. They've developed a great working relationship with USDA. As you'll recall, Casey was the leader in getting almost $700,000 in revolving loan money for businesses, and now this is a follow-up to that. So, my thanks to both of them for doing such a great job in developing that relationship with USDA. So thank you, guys.
Very good. Thanks. All right. Next up is request by Congressman Tom O'Halloran for a list of transportation infrastructure priorities for Congressional District 1. Good evening, Mr. Scott.
Good evening, Mayor, members of the council. Morgan Scott with Development Services. As you mentioned, Congressman O'Halloran has requested that NACOG meet with all the communities throughout Congressional District 1. That's tougher to say than it sounds. And put together a list of priority infrastructure projects, specifically transportation related, that he will bring back to Congress and try to get placed in a infrastructure bill through Congress. They're putting a big priority on regional cooperation and on economic development. And that's the reason I wanted to bring this up to you today. Yes, we already have a regional transportation plan that lists out Cottonwood's priorities, but I thought you might want to consider readjusting that priority list. And I know the 89A 260 intersection may not be the city of Cottonwood's top priority, but it may score very, very well on NACOG's list for a couple reasons. One, I believe I have verbal commitment from every community in the Verde Valley other than Camp Verde right now, and they may even come along to support this project. And that obviously Cottonwood benefits, and Yavapai County benefits, Clarkdale benefits, Jerome benefits. Even Jerome has mentioned they would sign a letter saying this would be their top priority. And I know a lot of people are confused. Why would, even Sedona has mentioned this would be their top priority. And a lot of people have asked, why would Sedona support this project? The biggest reason is, once State Route 260 is complete, Sedona would like to petition ADOT that ADOT sign 260 as one of the primary entrances to Cottonwood rather than 179. That's both good and bad. It's good from an economic point of view. That's a lot more traffic through Cottonwood. It's bad from a traffic point of view. However, if we fix that 89A 260 intersection, that's a major benefit. So that's a major reason why Sedona is participating. And again, Camp Verde is the only town that has not given us a verbal commitment to supporting this. If the council would like to recommend this be our top priority and we move forward with this, I would reach out and get a letter from all of those communities saying they'd like this to be the top priority. There's a couple other reasons why this may score very, very well with NACOG and even at the congressional level. The reason is the economic impact. I think that intersection in particular has been held back. Many of you remember the chamber. There were several businesses that tried to go in where Sizzler was. Sizzler sat empty for a very long time due to some of the problems with that intersection. That intersection backs up all the way to Fur. It backs up at times all the way past the Safeway intersection. So it is an issue. So I believe fixing that could have a major economic benefit. Finally, cost savings. Fixing that intersection, and by the way, I don't know what that fix is right now. Basically what we'd like to propose is a study to come in and study it, propose a fix, and then of course a design and a construction project. So I know a lot of people asking, what is the fix? We'd like to make sure we do that right. So first we do a study. But the third thing is we could improve probably bicycle facilities. We could improve pedestrian safety throughout that intersection. We could probably ask them to continue and lengthen the original scope of the project all the way out to the Safeway intersection, all the way out to Fur, to include bike facilities, to include pedestrian facilities. And the final reason why I believe this could score very, very well is the cost savings that could result. You've all seen the regional transportation plan, which has Fur Street extending out to 89A, which is not a bad solution from a transportation point of view, but is a very expensive solution. It's also a very long-term solution. Also, Thousand Trails someday is projected to extend out over the Verde River to ultimately connect up to Tissaw Road and Bill Gray Road. Again, great from a transportation point of view. Actually, that could hurt Cottonwood significantly economically because that would be a bypass to Cottonwood. We all know what happens to towns when you get bypassed. So supporting this could help Cottonwood significantly economically, but also fixing this intersection. And by the way, these are very ballpark figures. I'm guessing between $5 to $10 million we can fix this intersection, maybe even less. The First Street alignment would be $10 million plus. The Thousand Trails alignment is probably $40 million plus. So I think that NACOG could look at this and say, hey, this is an opportunity to fix a regional problem with a relatively low cost. So that's why we brought this before you tonight, to see if we should possibly bump this up on Cottonwood's priority, even though I do recognize it may not be the city of Cottonwood's priority. When all the communities go to support it, also it's kind of ADOT giving ADOT money. That is an ADOT intersection, so it may score very well again. And I know a lot of people saying we should be petitioning to put this into city roads, although I would love to get it into city road. I would hate to see the community not get that funding, and this is a great opportunity to get this bumped to the top of the list.
I agree with your assessment. I think looking at the list of options, this one certainly I think is the better option for the regional participation. I think it would have the biggest impacts. Wasn't our top on our list, but when you think about it regionally. Yes,
After
please.
sitting on that corner for over 8 years and watching people play chicken with fire engines and police cars and ambulances and all, it does need some kind of a fix.
Any other discussion? All right.
Do we need to make a motion, or?
It's a to-be-determined motion. If the council supports this, I think you could either give direction, or you could move to direct staff to support the project as recommended by staff, and then Morgan had drafted a proposed letter, and you could direct him to send that, to finalize it and send it.
I'd like to just give direction. I think it, as you have these discussions with the other communities, if something else comes up that looks like it might be a better option based off your conversations with them, we can reassess it. But I think for now, I'd say move forward with this plan.
I agree.
Me too.
Okay. All right. Very good. Thank you. All right. Next up then is special event liquor license application submitted by Christian Oliva Del Rio, applicant for the Cottonwood Chamber of Commerce Chamber Mixers scheduled for September 21, 2017 at 597 East State Route 89A, October 14, 2017 at 1329 East State Route 89A, Suite B, and December 14, 2017 at 500 East Cherry Street.
I have a conflict.
Okay.
But Christian sent a message. He went home sick today, so he is not able to be here tonight.
Thank you. Any questions from council on this? Do I hear a motion?
I moved. Did you want to go ahead and make a motion? I move to recommend approval of the special liquor license application submitted by Christian Oliva Del Rio, applicant for the Cottonwood Chamber of Commerce for chamber mixers scheduled for September 21st, 2017 at 597 East SR 89A, October 14th, 2017 at 1329 East SR 89A, Suite B, and December 14th, 2017 at 500 East Cherry.
Second.
Okay, Councilmember Allen made the motion and Councilmember Henry seconded it. All in favor?
Aye.
Aye. Any opposed? Okay. All right, next up is claims and adjustments.
I move we pay the claims and adjustments.
I'll second that. All in favor?
Aye.
Aye. Any opposed? Okay. And then it is the annual review of the city attorney, executive session. Pursuant to A.R.S., the council may vote to convene in executive session to conduct its annual performance evaluation of the city attorney, subject to the city attorney's right to compel the council to discuss this matter in open meeting. I sent you a letter. Did
Got
you
it.
receive? Okay. Would you like to?
E-session.
Okay.
Yes.
Very good. So I would make a motion then to move into executive session.
Second.
Okay. Mayor made the motion and Althouse seconded it. All in
No, I
favor?
didn't.
You did not? Norman seconded it? I made the motion. Norman.
Who was this, Councilmember Henry?
Councilmember Henry that seconded it.
Norman may have beat me to it. I don't know.
Sure. So anyway, all in favor?
Aye.
Okay. Any opposed? Council, if you could just step for a minute, they're going to have the troop come up and.
It's the first Boy Scout picture during an executive session in Arizona history.
You can come back here, we don't bite.
Yeah, come on back.
Oh, now.
No.
All right, I would move that we resolve back into regular session.
Second.
All in favor?
Aye.
Any opposed? Okay, we're back in regular session. And we did our annual review of the city attorney. And we had a good conversation, gave good feedback, good direction for the coming year. There's no increase requested or considered. And he is in his 4th year now of a 5-year contract previously approved, so there's no action necessary. Okay?
Move to
Motion
adjourn?
Adjourn.
We have a motion and a second. All in favor?
Aye.
Any opposed? All right. Thank you.
Thank you.